It's now March 9th, and it's time to share with you my projects I worked on in February. The first thing I wanted to start off this video with is just saying that it is a week into March already. It's a week and 2 days into March, and due to that, I haven't stopped knitting. So some of these projects have a little bit of March knitting on them as well. This video is a little late. We got back from a trip and have been getting reorganized with things that need to be done. And so I'm a little late, and so some of this is March knitting, but most of it's February knitting. So I think we're ready to get into these projects. I did finish a knitting project in February, and that was these fingerless gloves that I did share last time. This pattern is a pattern I made up, and the yarn is Knit Picks Pallete that I had in my stash, although I ended up ordering more to make a complete to make up this pattern. I used the colors Clover, that's the green color. The color red is, oh, I don't want to make this mistake, it's Autumn Heather, didn't want to guess wrong, and then the white is just white. I used needle size US 2.75 millimeters, and I used the same color for the whole glove. The cuff for the ribbing that goes around your wrist, the cuff at the top for the top part of the hand. I did not use a smaller needle size for the ribbing. I just used a US 2, the whole glove. One of the things about these pair of gloves, one, they fit really well. I'm really happy with the fit, and I'm very happy with the little, it's not a modification because obviously I made it up as I went, but I noticed that a lot of fingerless gloves patterns kind of cut off. I'm not saying all of them do, but most of the ones I've seen, you could change that, but cut off right about here on the hand, and you have your fingers more exposed, so you can use them. But I wanted to have the option on these gloves for the person wearing them so that they could pull up this ribbing part, the top of the glove, all the way up to pretty much cover their fingers. So if it was really cold and you didn't need your fingers free, you could just leave it up and it would be more warm. But if you needed your fingers free, then you could just roll it down. And I'm really happy I did that. I really loved doing the longer ribbing at the top for that reason. Kind of did it for the thumb too, but I find it's not so necessary for the thumb. But you can roll the thumb down too, but doesn't seem as necessary. But that's how they are, and they fit really well. The other thing I really liked about this pattern is I chose to do a tubular cast on and a tubular bind off. Now I really enjoyed this cast on bind off method. I haven't done it as much in my past years of knitting, and I love the way. Let me see if I can get out of the way. I really like the way the edges, they just kind of seem to roll to the other side. They don't almost look like they don't have a beginning and end, if that makes sense. They just have a very neat edge that almost just doesn't have a starting point. It just kind of rolls to the other side. And I really like that. I will say I'm still playing around with a tubular cast on method that I enjoy working. I found the tubular bind off with the tapestry needle, and that method I really liked. But I tried the tubular cast on method with when you use like a crochet hook, and I'm trying around still with different ones on the next fingerless glove pair I'm knitting, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. I won't jump too far ahead, but I really enjoyed doing the tubular cast on and bind off on these gloves. That's something I'm really glad I took the time to do. Took the time to venture off my long tail cast on that I just normally whip out. I was really happy with that decision. The only other thing I wanted to share is on the hand of these gloves. I really liked using color work. It's so warm. It has that basically double layered fabric on the inside, and that's what I was hoping for, and it is very nice and warm. I think I mentioned this in the last video, not sure, but I debated on if I really enjoyed working this section of the color work on the hand, where it's almost like hoof prints, because it involved carrying 3 colors of yarn. So obviously I was going for Fair Isle is my favorite kind of color work to work. I enjoy just holding 2 colors in a row, and I had to hold 3 colors in a row doing this section, because even though there's 2 colors on this part, the thumb gusset was using the green color. So that was one thing I decided I didn't enjoy working as much, although I'm fairly happy with the appearance in the end. So that is the only pair of finished project for February, but they fit. I'm very happy with them, and I enjoyed making them, and it did use up some stashed yarn. So that is my finished object from February. So I casted off 1 pair of fingerless gloves, and I went straight on and casted on the second pair for my dad, who I think I mentioned in the last video was the one who had originally requested fingerless gloves, and this is his pair. So the same kind of pattern, except I did remove that section of color work that was having me carry 3 strands in a row, and I enjoyed knitting this one of the pair a lot more when I only had 2 strands of yarn at a time. I did again tubular cast on, tubular bind off, and I used the autumn heather color for the red, and the white is just the white. So it's not, obviously it's basically the same pattern. The other different thing is I did go down a needle size. So I used, let me make sure I'm right about this, I used a US 1 2.25 millimeter for the ribbing, and that goes for here. All the ribbing is a needle size down, versus Mom's pair, which I just did the same needle. And I don't know why I didn't go down a size, because I almost always go down a size to give it that nice snug fit, but I didn't, and this time I did. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to share about this. I will say, so I just finished this pair. I had a little mishap, and let me back up. I mentioned I'm still playing around with tubular cast on methods and trying to find one I really like. I was pulling out the tubular, the waste yarn on this glove, and something went wrong, and I ended up having to pick up the stitches, and I did a tubular bind off on what was the cast on edge. I hope I didn't confuse everyone there. Basically, my tubular cast on in this glove went wrong, and I had live stitches as I took out the waste yarn, and I ended up doing the tubular bind off on the bottom. So as I said, I haven't completely mastered the tubular cast on, and I'm still working on finding a method that I really like. So if you have a tubular cast on method that you really enjoy or like, I would love to hear in the comments if you want to share, and I would definitely probably try it out. I'm very open to trying every kind right now. As I said, I really like the finish, and I'm really happy with using that method. So one done, and then the second one is in progress. So that is the first project that is still in the works from February. And I do feel inclined to mention, you probably noticed, I have not woven the ends yet in on that first glove. So no, I have not done that yet, and still need to work on getting those ends woven in. The next project that I'm still working on, and I worked on in February, is the cowl, the Tapestry Cowl by the Woolly Thistle. I believe the lady who designed it, there is another name even though she's from the Woolly Thistle, and that's where I bought the pattern. I believe her name is listed in some places as well. So if I can find her name, I'm going to put it here on the screen, because I want to make sure that her name gets some credit too. It is a beautiful pattern. I'm still enjoying it, and I don't remember how many repeats I had last time I shared with this shared my work from January. But I did spend quite a bit of time in especially the beginning of February, just on those cold winter nights. I just really was enjoying at the end of a long day just picking this up, and I would usually only get so many rows at a time, although we did watch some movies as a family, and that gave me lots of time to slip in. I think a couple of those movies I got like almost a full repeat of a color work section. But I am enjoying this knit so much. It is just very slow. I'm very slow with this knit. I'm looking down a lot, and I think I need to come up with a better way of reading the charts. So I have seen from, is it Knitter's Pride? I think it's Knitter's Pride that has the magnetic, like, and I don't even remember the names. I haven't looked at them in so long, but we can lay a magnetic strip down, and so you can really clearly just glance at your page and you can see what line you're on. I've been kind of doing that makeshift recently and laying down a book or something to cover all the charts, all the rounds of the chart below, and so I can see the round I'm on. And I need to, so it just takes me a while to work through, this, and I'm still enjoying it. But I've decided that I'm going to keep focusing on it, but I'm going to enjoy the slowness of it and not let it stop me from working on other projects. I was very, very focused on it at the beginning of February and trying to give this as my full attention, but I've decided I'm going to keep working on this, but focus as well on some other projects while I'm doing this, just because it's such a slower knit, and I don't want to race it when there's other projects that I've been asked by people, and I feel like I need to work on, like those gloves. So, still enjoying this pattern. It's Tapestry Cowl by the Woolly Thistle, and the yarn, the white, is Quince & Co. Finch, and it is the undyed color, and I think it's called Egret. Make sure I'm right about that. Yep, Egret. And then the reddish, it's kind of like a mocha color, it's kind of brown, is Retrosario Mondim, which I've enjoyed so much, talked a lot about that, their yarn, and the color Heathered Brick, or the numbers 302. So I'm still enjoying this, still working on this, and yes, I'm gonna keep working on that one. We'll see when we finish it though. As it's getting warmer, I'm not feeling as pressured to race and get it done, because I don't think I'm going to get to wear it much this year. The final project that I'm going to share with you, and again, all these works in progress, except that one pair of fingerless gloves aren't new, but, oh, I didn't even finish this row. So I've been working, we took, as I said, a trip in the end of February, beginning of March, and I decided to take the Buttonside Sweater by Jennifer Dasu that I was working on last time, and I'm still working on, because I was going to hopefully be able to give it a lot of time and get a lot of stitches put in on it. I ended up enjoying the beach and time with my family more. I got a lot of knitting on the car ride, but let me just finish this while I tell you a little bit, because it's going to be hard to show you if I'm halfway through a row. So I took this Buttonside Sweater by Jennifer Dasu on the trip, and last time I showed you, I had only got the back done, but when I took it, I picked up for the front, and I got all the way done to just past the armholes, and I'm working on the front and working the buttonholes. I've already done one set of buttonholes, and probably about a third way done the front, I think, about now. For those of you who weren't here last time or who want a refresher, I am using Knit Picks Wool of New Andes in the color Evergreen. I'll show you. And I am knitting on US 2.75 millimeter needles. And as I said, I went down a number of needle sizes than the pattern called for. It's a very tight, thicker. I think the pattern called for DK weight. I'm using worsted and smaller needles, and I did get gauge, but I'm happy with how the fabric's turning out. It's going to be very warm. I'm going to show you. And it's a 30, I chose the size 34 and a 1/4 inch with a bust circumference. So this is what I have. Let me back up. You can see better. So last time I only had the back done, but since then I have picked up, it's a saddle shoulder sweater construction. I've picked up the stitches for the front, and then I knit the front. So what you do is you pick up one side, you work, and then you pick up the other side, work, and then you join them together to shape the neckline, and then you knit down and for the armholes before casting on more stitches for the rest of the front and to shape the armholes. And I have already worked my first 2 buttonholes. So there's one buttonhole, and there is another buttonhole. So that is what it's looking like so far, and I am very excited about it, still very enjoying it. I really enjoy knitting on sweaters, and I always love thinking about, as I knit on them, how they're going to get to be worn when they're done. And my only concern is I did pick the smallest size, and I am a pretty small size, and I got gauge, but as I drape it over me, I wonder, and I'll show you, if it might be too small. But I remembered when I blocked my swatch, it grew a lot, so I'm not giving up hope yet. But it's gonna, I think it'll fit, and if it fits, it'll fit really well. So we'll see. It did grow, as I said, the swatch grew a lot in blocking, so I'm gonna wait till it's done and blocked, and if not, my sisters or somebody else will get a nice sweater. So I'm very, very happy with the pattern. I'm really enjoying seeing how short rows can do so many neat things. This sweater has the back neckline has the short rows, which is great to raise up that back neckline, and use short rows to shape this beautiful hem. And it's just really neat to see how you can use just the ways this pattern uses short rows. For those of you who don't know, this is out of Jennifer Dossey's book, All on Short Rows, and she goes through all the different types of short rows. This pattern shows how you can use German short rows, and she goes through all the different types of German short rows. There's wrap and turn, there's patterns for everyone. So, and she talks about figuring out when would be the best place to use these different types of short rows. And I don't regret buying it, and I don't regret picking this pattern and trying it. And the Knit Picks yarn is something I had got in my stash, so again, using up yarn I already had, and that is another exciting thing to be doing. So that is the last project I worked on in February and the beginning of March. If you watched to this point, thank you so much for watching. I hope this video was helpful and enjoyable to you. I would love to hear what projects you were working on in the month of February and what you were excited about working on in the month of March. I can't wait to meet up again with everyone in about a month, Lord willing, and happy knitting to all of you.